Hello, I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Susan Irwin, and I am Chair of the Committee of Adjustment. I have some opening remarks that I am to read. So firstly, welcome to the hybrid in-person and virtual meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Central Frontenac. Just so everyone is aware, members of the public may join in person or virtually. For those who may be new to the Committee of Adjustment, as I've said, my name is Susan Irwin and I am the chair. We also have to my right, Francis Smith, Mayor, Lynn Clegus, Councillor, and over here, Nikki Gowdy, Bill Everett, and Dan Meeks. We are all, beside me, I have Abigail McKinnon to keep me on track. And we have the county planners, Michael Kelly and Jenny Capusta. Chris Nelson, our community service coordinator, will be assisting us as the meeting host. The format of the meeting will follow the agenda that has been posted online. Fortunately, I have one in paper. Staff have also prepared a presentation for everyone to follow during the meeting, which will be shown on the screen. For each application, we will follow this format. I, as the chair, will introduce the file, and apologies in advance if I get names incorrect, so that everyone knows where we are on the agenda. The planner will provide an overview of the application. We will then ask if there are any comments from the applicant or the applicant's agent. Committee members may then ask staff and the applicant any questions. And the public will also have the opportunity to ask questions or provide comments. And I would encourage anyone to ask questions that they may have. The committee will then deliberate and vote on the application. Voting will take place with members of the committee raising their hands or verbal confirmation if attending online. I will then state whether the vote was carried. All members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the new applications. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Central Frontenac before a decision is made, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. As of January 1st, 2023, only persons specified in the Planning Act are permitted to appeal consent and minor variance applications. Township staff will be in touch following the meeting and will be forwarding a copy of the decision within 15 days to the applicant and anyone who has requested to be notified. Should you have any questions about the meeting, we encourage you to reach out to staff. The applicant, the minister, or any prescribed public body who has an interest in the matter may, within 20 days of making the decision, appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal against the decision of the committee by filing with the Secretary-Treasurer of the committee a notice of appeal. I will now turn the mic over to Chris Nelson to provide, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, to provide an overview of how members attending virtually can participate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once the meeting is open to the public, the chair will ask if anyone has any questions or comments. Members of the public attending virtually will be asked to use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. This alerts us that you would like to speak. Staff will then notify the chair that someone would like to speak and then proceed to unmute your microphone. You'll receive a notification that your microphone has been unmuted. Please wait a second after unmuting your microphone before speaking. If you're calling in by phone, please dial *9 when you would like to raise your hand during the meeting. You will hear a prompt on the phone that you have raised your hand, and you will be notified when your microphone has been unmuted. This afternoon, it looks like we have 3 members of the public participating with us online and 2 in person.
My paper says, in the unlikely account that we have connection issues, noting that we have a tornado warning and a severe thunderstorm warning. However, if we have connection issues and the meeting cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting will be postponed and staff will be in touch with each applicant. A notice will be posted on the township's social media letting you know. So let's get down to business and hopefully the weather will cooperate. So the first order of business on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. And I have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Nikki Cowdy that the agenda be adopted. Are there any amendments?
No, there is not.
As presented. All in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof?
No.
Seeing that none, we'll record that in minutes. And the next item is the approval of minutes of May 9th, 2024, that the minutes of May 9th be adopted. And that is moved by Lynn Clagus, seconded by Dan Meeks. Are there any amendments?
No, there's not.
So moved as presented. All in favor? Carried. Are there any deferred items?
No, there's not.
And I see no applications for consent.
No.
We have 3 applications for minor variance. And the first one is A-15-23. And I'm going to pronounce it as Burn. I hope that's correct. And is there anyone online for this one, Chris?
Yeah, it appears that there is.
Okay, but we will start with review from the planners.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an application that is to permit the expansion of an existing legal non-complying cottage. So that just means that it was built before the current bylaws and it no longer meets the required setbacks in the current zoning bylaw. So to expand that, they need permission from the committee. So on the screen here, you can see the property is located at 1963 Crow Lake Road in the hamlet of Crow Lake. So it's a fairly small property and has a couple of steep slopes on it. It's got a plateau at the top where they park. Then there's a slope and a plateau for the cottage and then another slope to the lake, as is common along Crow Lake Road in that area. As a result, the property is currently only serviced by a holding tank because there's not physically room to put anything larger. They've done their best with the property. When they applied to do the expansion, planning staff and township staff consulted with the Conservation Authority. As a result of that, the Conservation Authority requested a letter of opinion from a geotechnical engineer to ensure that the addition to this cottage wouldn't impact any of the slopes. As I said, it's a couple of slopes and plateaus, and they wanted to make sure the additional construction wasn't going to cause any problems when added onto the cottage. Due to the tight area on the property, there's currently a storage shed. That's the by 12 storage shed shown here that will need to be relocated to the rear of the property. So this is kind of a combination permission to expand and minor variance to reduce a setback for that accessory building. So in the bylaw, when you're on a waterfront property, you measure front yard setbacks on both the roadside and the water side. So while traditionally a rear yard setback for an accessory building would only be 1 meter, because of this being a waterfront property, the rear yard is also 7 meters. And that's just not possible to meet on this property. So they're looking at moving this shed to a minimum of 1 meter, which is really in compliance with what a rear yard setback would otherwise be. And that would give them space to do an addition to the cottage. So this has been a while coming. Again, they've worked with geotechnical engineer to get that information and the Conservation Authority to make sure that everything is all good for this property. So as I noted, initial comments from Conservation Authority in December of last year had concerns regarding the slopes after they did their site visit. So they worked with a geotechnical engineer, slightly delayed due to winter weather and inability to look at that in the snow. So they got that done by the end of March and put it in for review. All was good with our VCA, and we're satisfied that they weren't going to cause any problems and have no objections. This was circulated for review for septic performance, and it was determined that the existing holding tank on site was sufficient to accommodate the proposed expansion. There's no increase in bedrooms, plumbing fixtures. They just really wanted a larger living space and a slight reconfiguration inside the cottage. There were no public comments received regarding this application. Planning staff are recommending that we hear comments from the public today, if there are any, and that the committee approve this application subject to the conditions in the planning report, including that there's no further water body encroachment, the size addition is as stated in the application, and no sediment control measure put in place, things like that, just for the standard conditions for protection of the lake.
Thank you, Jenny. Is there anyone online who wishes to comment?
Please use the raise hand feature. Oh, yeah, we have one. Okay, you could unmute your microphone. You can speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. No, I don't have comments. I just wanted to acknowledge that I am here and everything that was just presented is in accordance what our understanding is and our wishes for this property that is quite small. And if you have any questions for me that I can answer.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Lynn Cleggis.
Thank you. Just a curiosity question more than anything. Is it 2 meters to the edge of the property line where the addition is going?
That's an excellent question. Yes, that does say 2 meters, not 3. You're right. So we will need to amend the conditions to acknowledge the 2-meter side yard setback for that. Good catch. I know I discussed that with them, and then I was looking at it, I was like,
Just seem really close.
yes,
to
we say the
me.
property is very tight. And it said there is a shed there right now, but yes, because it's the main building, it should be 3 meters, not 2 meters. Thank you for catching that.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions from the public? Seeing none, we have a motion before us. Moved by Francis Smith and seconded by Lynn Cleggis, that minor variance application A-15-23 burn for concession 4, part lot 35, geographic township of Oso, be approved to construct an addition to an existing non-complying structure located less than 30 meters from the high water mark of Crow Lake, a designated at capacity lake trout lake. Additionally, to allow the relocation of an existing storage structure to the rear of the property to facilitate the construction of this addition. Any further comments? All in favor? Carried. And I guess I'm to read that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. Next item on the agenda is an application for minor variance, APPN 2024-0008 Wagot. And I will turn it over to Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this application, the applicants are Richard Pilon and Sylvie Martel. The property is located at 1829 Okanogo Lane.
Oh, yes.
Oh, am I out of order on mine?
I do that all the time.
Whoops.
I'm like,
All right.
sit down. Got it, no.
This is our entertainment portion.
All right. All right. So this application is actually for James and Lynn Waggett through their agent Jenna Gorham. The property in question is located at 1342 Wagner Road. The applicant is proposing to replace an existing 21.4 square meter deck on the east side of the existing cottage with a new 26.6 square meter deck in the same location. The deck will encroach half a meter closer to the water body than the existing deck. The lot currently features a two-story dwelling, a main floor with a walkout basement. That is 122 square meters or 1,300 square feet in area with an attached uncovered and unenclosed deck included. Located approximately 11.5 meters from the established high water mark of Charbet Lake. The proposal was circulated to Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, who indicated no objection to the proposal and provided recommendations for mitigation features to be implemented. These included ensuring that any additional drainage was not directed towards the shoreline slope and water body, and that stabilizing vegetation be planted along the shoreline, and if this is unfeasible due to the large presence of rock, that all existing vegetation be maintained. The application was not circulated for septic review, as no increase in living space or additional water fixtures was proposed. Yeah, no public comments were received at the time of finalizing the presentation. So, subject to any comments, which may be heard today, it is recommended that the Committee of Adjustment approve application APPN 2024-0008, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix A of this report, which includes demolishing the existing structure and constructing the new one, setback 11 meters from the waterfront. Sediment control measures shall be implemented through the construction process, and natural drainage patterns on the site shall not be substantially altered such that additional runoff is directed towards the lake or onto neighboring properties. That is it.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions? Is there anyone online who has any comments?
I see no one online with their hand up.
Any committee members have any questions or concerns? Francis?
I just have a question with our numbering system. What is APPN?
So that's our new application system. So we've started exclusively using Citywide, which is the program for permitting, and that is their automatic application number for planning applications. So instead of using the A and B, we've consolidated it all to one consistent application number.
Okay. I should have been at the last meeting. I would have known that, right? Thank you.
If we have no comments from the public, then we have a motion before us, moved by Lynn Clagus and seconded by Francis Smith, that minor variance application APPN 2024-0008 Waggett for concession 2, part lot 10, 1342 Wagner Road, Geographic Township of Oso, be approved to replace an existing 21.4 square meter, which is equal to 230.3 square feet, deck on the east side of the existing cottage with a new 26.6 square meter, 286.3 square feet, deck in the same location. The deck will encroach 0.5 meters, that's 1.6 feet, closer to the water body than the existing deck. All in favor? Carried. And as required, I will read that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. And we are now moving on to, I'm going to say Pelon application, APPN 202400. Did I say 3 zeros? 5. Pelon. And I'll hand that over to Michael.
All right. So this time, the applicants are Richard Pilon and Sylvie Martel. The property is located at 1829 Openago Lane. The applicant is proposing to construct a 74 square meter or 805 square foot detached accessory building, a garage with attached deck and walkway to be located at a minimum of 18.3 meters or 60 feet from the high water mark of Eagle Lake. Property currently features a 1,278 square foot cottage, including decks and screen porch, approximately 12.8 meters from Eagle Lake. A shed, privy, and septic system are all located between the dwelling and the lane. There is a 54 square foot shed located approximately 10.1 meters from Eagle Lake, and Eagle Lake is a designated at capacity lake trout lake. The property features a steep topography towards the rear of the property, which descends and levels as you reach the water. So the application was circulated to Redo Valley Conservation Authority, who stated that they had no objection to the application as presented. RVCA made several recommendations for best management practices should the application be approved. These recommendations can be found in the staff report and have been taken under advisement and integrated into the draft recommendations. The application was not circulated for septic review as it does not propose an increase in living space or an increase in plumbing fixtures. No public comments have yet been received. And so, subject to any comments that may be received at the public meeting, planning staff recommend that committee approve application number APPN 20240005, subject to the conditions outlined in the planning report.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions online?
If you're joining us online, please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak. I'm seeing none.
Thank you, Chris. Do members of council have any questions? Members of the committee, I should say. Nikki? And yes, of course, I'm getting to members of the public. Thank you, Bill. They're keeping me on track here. Anything you'd like to add or no? Thank you. Then we have a motion before us. We may get out of here before the thunderstorm or tornado, if we're lucky. So moved by Lynn Clegus and seconded by Dan Meeks that minor variance application APPN 20240005 Pelon for concession 2, part lot 30 on registered plan 13R61, part 29 at 1829 Opeongo Point Lane, Geographic Township of Hinchinbrook, be approved to allow for the construction of a 74.8 square meter, 805.14 square feet detached accessory building garage with an attached deck walkway that cannot meet the required zoning bylaw water body setback of 30 meters. All in favor? And that is carried. And just in case you missed it with the last two, that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, watch for it, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. Oh. Is there any other planning business before us tonight?
No, there's.
Then we need a motion for adjournment. And guess what? I have one here. This was moved by Bill and seconded by Nikki, that this meeting be adjourned until 6 p.m., July 11th, 2024, virtually and in person at Oso Hall, 1107 Garrett Street, Sharbot Lake. All in favor? I see everybody's hand up. It's carried. And we are adjourned at
Perfect. 6:25.
6:25.
Minor variances will always be.